Murder at Castle Nathria is dropping on August 2nd. It's right around the corner, and there's some very powerful cards that everyone's talking about. But there's also some very powerful cards that nobody's talking about. These are 6 cards that are underrated in my opinion, and I think are very strong. First up, we have Creepy Painting. It is a 0/6 minion that after another minion dies, become a copy of it. I think this card is really interesting. There's a lot of unique effects in this new expansion, and this is one of them. This card may look a little weak on the surface, but there's actually so many things you could do with this card, and there's so many times where this card can actually be insane value for just 3 mana. For instance, if you have a board already and your opponent has a board, you can narrow it down sometimes. I'm sure that the first minion to die after you play this card is a big minion or something that you want back. And yeah, it's just like a free revive pet kind of thing here, but on any minion. You can also combo it with spells as well. One class that can take advantage of this would be Priest with the new 1 mana spell, where you can play the Creepy Painting, then kill off a minion with that spell, and then you get the minion. I mean, there's so many different things you could do with this card. I'm sure it's going to be able to set up lethal into many very cool situations. And yeah, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Creepy Painting. Next card, sticking with the neutrals, we got Forensic Duster here. Battlecry, your opponent's minions cost 1 more next turn. This is kind of like Cult Neophyte, but for minions. And as you know, Cult Neophyte was run in a lot of different decks, a lot of tournaments as well. So yeah, this card, any card that really messes with your opponent's turn, is going to be quite a nuisance. And yeah, I think this card is very, very strong. And not a lot of people are talking about it, but I would not be surprised if we see a lot of decks running 2 of these on the first day of the expansion. We have Crooked Crook. At the end of your turn, if you dealt 3 or more damage to the enemy hero, draw a card. A 2 mana minion like this with 4 HP, we've seen in the past that is a very big amount of health, and it's very hard for decks to deal with that right at the beginning of the game, most decks at least. So this card is really perfect for aggressive decks, of course, like Demon Hunter, that's going to be just vomiting stats out on the board and dealing that 3 damage pretty easily to their opponent every single turn. I think this card is very, very good for those decks, for the aggressive decks, to make them more consistent, and it's going to be more annoying than it looks. Next up, we have Solid Alibi. This is the new mage spell for 2 mana. Until your next turn, your hero can only take 1 damage at a time. So there's a lot of cards in the past that have been kind of similar to this. One thing that comes to mind is like Wave of Apathy that would reduce your opponent's minions to 1 attack for next turn, but this spell is so much more powerful because it actually... it's powerful in a different sense. I mean, Wave of Apathy allows you to get value trades and all that, and there are also some combos that you could do with it, but Solid Alibi is just very solid because it also works against your opponent's spells, weapons, and it also works against the new card Sire to Nathrius, actually, because Sire to Nathrius, how it works is it just releases all the damage in bursts, in one single burst. So if you have no minions on the board, for instance, and Sire to Nathrius is maybe infused, it's going to do 10 damage amongst enemies. It's going to do that 10 damage at once. So you're only going to take that 1 damage from Sire to Nathrius because of Solid Alibi. And yeah, I think this card is very good for stalling out. I don't know if Mage really needs to run it. We shall see. But I think this card's very powerful, especially for 2 mana, and it is a frost spell that does work with multicasters, so I think this card is really, really strong, and I think people are sleeping on it a little bit. Wake up! Next card is Identity Thief. This is a priest card, similar to Thoughtsteal. Discover a copy of a card from your opponent's hand and deck, and it's a shadow spell. Shadow spell is very good. We like to see that for the Nether Drake, Lightmaw Nether Drake, because shadow spells, the good shadow spells are hard to come by. And this one, if you compare it to Thoughtsteal, this is so much better. This is 100 times better because Discover is such a powerful keyword that discovering a card from your opponent's hand and your deck, first of all, you're going to get a lot of information from both of those discovers. And then second of all, getting to choose which card is a big deal. I think Thief Control Priest is going to be very strong, and I think it's going to be mainly because of this card right here. Last up, we have Lady Darkvane. This is a Warlock Legendary. Battlecry, summon 2 2/1 Shades. Each gains a Death Rattle to cast your last Shadow spell. So both of those 2/1 Shades, they're going to cast the last spell that you played. They're not going to have different spells in them. There's many things that you can do with this card, but one interaction that I was told about that is really strong is Dark Alley Pact leading up to Lady Darkvane, which, I mean, that's so many stats. Even if you don't even have so many cards in your hand at the beginning of the game, that is a lot of tempo, And this card is, I think this card is going to be run in a lot of control. Anything that's not just full on aggro, this card is going. Maybe you can even run this in aggro. I don't know. This card is kind of crazy, and you should look out for this. And those are my top 6 sleeper cards of the new set, Murder at Castle Nathria. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, I hope you subscribe. I hope you liked the video. I hope you drop a comment down below. Which one do you think was the biggest sleeper? Do you think I'm missing any sleeper cards in this list? And let me know what card or deck you're most excited for in the new expansion. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.